Good evening. If anything, 2020 has taught many that insurance protection and cover is essential. We introduce to you Mr. Maduka, an insurance and business consultant who offers free consultations on various insurance products and including competitive quotations on commercial business loans. Insurances that he consults on are income protection, life insurance, critical illness cover, funeral plans, mortgage cover, land insurance, private healthcare, pensions, business and public liability insurance, building and content insurance, and sports cover.
The Extraordinary Achievers Show, hosted by Lady Waynette Peters, a multi-entrepreneur, empowerment speaker, confidence mentor, positive lifestyle coach, and a humanitarian ambassador whose sound of victory testimony has inspired thousands around the world. Founded in 2014, the Extraordinary Achievers Talk Show presents positive stories to inspire, motivate, and encourage others.
I read and it said, when you try to resist change, you rob yourself of the experiences that can transform your life on both a professional and personal level. When you welcome and embrace change, you open and allow yourself to cooperate with the natural evolution that is the reality of existence on Earth. There is a quotation that says, change is the only constant in life. Change is the only constant thing in life. Welcome to the 6th session of The Power of the Mind. I am Lady Waynette Peters, the founder and CEO of the Extraordinary Achievers. We aim to provide you with doers, change makers, testimonials, evidence of practice, and much more. I'd like to acknowledge our Facebook and our YouTube audience. Please do like, click, comment, and please share. This program is brought to you on behalf of DB's 8 Step Up project, sponsored by HM Government in partnership with the National Lottery Community Fund. On the Extraordinary Achievers Show tonight, we look at embracing change. Joining us, we have Mr. Cordle, MBE, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance. Also joining us is the award-winning radio broadcaster and podcaster. I got tongue-tied there, I apologize. Sandra Rodney, aka Ebony Empress, who is a public speaker and a presenter and a coach. Sandra is well known as a conflict resolution specialist and an organizational change consultant. When we embrace change, we're more likely to value our ideas and potential possibilities, and they follow through with them. When we value our ideas and goals, we're more likely to believe in ourselves and our abilities. When we accept change, we're more likely to reach our goals. We would like to welcome Mr. Cordle, MBE. Good evening, Mr. Cordle.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Cordle, MBE, you wanted to be a Christian and also a politician.
Yes.
And you were not sure how you were going to marry the two. You were in your union executive at university and you stood for union president. You joined the Conservative Party and became a councillor for them whilst you're also working for Prudential.
Right.
In the earlier conversation that we had surrounding this, you advised me that change came after a divorce and a separation from your children. And a change also came through after the Conservative Party closed the door. And in your words, you realized that God had closed that door to open a new door that you could embrace your politics and your Christian beliefs in one. Welcome to the Extraordinary Achievers Show tonight. Mr. Cordle, MBE, how have you accepted change in your life?
Okay, so I think the first thing I'd like to say is, to me, it's very important to steer a straight course in a storm. You don't give up. Embracing change is not about giving up under pressure. For me, it means when one period of your life comes to an end, you move on and you do it ethically. See, as you just said, I became a Conservative councillor in a by-election, which was actually in 1982, age 26. And I set my mind at the time to do it for 6 years. And 6 years later, I had two children, aged 3 and 1, with a third on the way. And I knew at that time that I needed to spend more time with my family. And I certainly don't regret it. I left my work as a financial consultant, as you said, with the Prudential, which was in 1996, in order to stand with my colleagues who were being dismissed for no good reason, and I helped them in a number of tribunals. And at the same time, I moved on to something better. I set up my own business as an independent financial advisor, which I then did for a long time. When my marriage ended in 2000, as you say, I went through a lot of pain because for 3.5 years I couldn't see my children. And it was a very difficult time in my life. And I realized that I had my security in being a husband and a father of 3 lovely children, and living in a stone 4-bedroom detached house set in a third of an acre, and being chairman of the local residents association, and on one of the church leaders in the local church. And when all that was taken away from me over a period of time, it was very difficult. But when I got on a plane and went to Toronto and met God powerfully in the revival there, I realized that God just loved me and I was his child. And I found my security again in just simply being a child of God. And on that basis, I was able to move on. And then in the Conservative Party, as you said, having got to a place in 2003 where I was happy again. I wanted to be a candidate in the 2005 general election, and I went to the Conservative Party to go and be interviewed in a hotel. And I stood outside the hotel and I said, God, if your presence isn't going to go with me, I don't want to go up from here. I don't want to be successful unless you're going to go with me. And I went in with that attitude, and God closed the door. And when God closed the door, very shortly afterwards, he opened a new door with the Christian People's Alliance. And that was actually part of the ambition of my life. And finally, very briefly, I've also spent 20 years running. Sensible time of my life. I did it between 38 and 58. And I was good. When I was hit the over 50s, I was in the top 10 in the country. Twice I was the first of my age group in the Great North Run. I did the London Marathon in under 3 hours when I was 55. But the time came when after I did what was went a bit over the top and did a 60-mile run in 2013, I did some damage to my body. But I realized then that the time of running was over, and I needed to preserve my energy for other things. So I had to embrace the fact that that season was finished and I was now moving on to a no season. But the thing is, I would say, is don't give up because the going's tough. But if it's time to move on, embrace the next chapter of your life and be willing to move on to something better.
Fantastic. And what advice would you give why we should embrace change?
Okay, well, I think I would say is, what I'd say to people is you only live once. And when you set out, you've no idea what life is going to throw at you. But the first question you've got to ask is, what's the calling on my life? And second question is, who is my life's partner? The third question is, what's the correct strategy to fulfill the purpose of my life? Now, I knew from an early age that I was called to be a Christian in politics. And as a child, I dreamt of being in a Christian political party. But when I was 21, I couldn't lead such a party. I needed experience first. It was okay while I was a student, just being a Christian in student politics. But when I entered the big wide world, I needed to do something different. But God also had to break me. I didn't want to go through the breaking. I didn't want to go through the divorce and all the pain that came with it. but God used it. I couldn't stop it. And the breaking was an experience for a purpose. And when I was at Toronto, I received a word which was, I'll make my way clear to you. Stay in me. Do not despair. And I embraced that word. I wanted God no matter what it costs. And it didn't matter that God was taking me on to something new. Now, it's one of the things that happened to me is when I was a young counsellor, just as I say, 26, I was on the education committee in Sheffield City Council. And we had a visit from the education secretary from Parliament, who was Sir Keith Joseph at the time. And the Conservative councillors were sat round a table. Sir Keith Joseph came to talk to us. And he let out a big sigh. And the first thing he said was, "We're mad doing this, aren't we?" And I looked at him and I thought, you're where I want to be. You're in Parliament. You've got to the top. You're in the cabinet. You're a close advisor to Margaret Thatcher. And you hate what you're doing. And it taught me a lesson, because I thought then, it's no good just getting to the top and that being your aim. Your aim in life has got to be to achieve something and do something that you enjoy doing. And so I thought, when I went to be a Conservative candidate, I'm not going to just be a Conservative candidate. I'm going to go and I'm going to make a testimony for God. And if it is God's will, I want it. If it's not, I don't want it. And I embraced what God gave me, which was a place in the Christian People's Alliance, which I became leader of in 2012. And it's interesting, just before I became leader of it, God also closed the door in financial advice. So I stopped doing financial advice. I started working full-time in politics. It's the calling on my life, and I love what I'm doing. You've got to embrace change to fulfill God's purpose in your life.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sid Cordle, MBE. If you've just joined us, we have Mr. Sid Cordle, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance. Welcome to the Extraordinary Achievers Show. Mr. Cordle, MBE, how can we handle unexpected changes or challenges? What would be your advice to someone that's saying, well, if I have something that is totally unexpected, some totally unexpected change in my life, how should they embrace that change? How can they handle it?
Well, there's only one answer that I could give to that, and that answer is to throw yourself into the arms of God. But the first thing I would say on a practical level is don't run away. Face the challenge. Running away can be a lot of things. At the most extreme level, it could be suicide, which is actually running away totally from life. Or it can be depression. Or it can be just starting another relationship just because you can't cope with what's going on, and totally at the wrong time. But facing the challenge is saying, God, I can't cope, help me. Which I think I say to people, the most powerful prayer where you can pray is, I can't cope, God, help me. Because it's real, and it's throwing yourself into the arms of God. James 1:5 says, if anyone lacks wisdom, ask God. And to me, that is extremely important. But you've got to give God permission to give you the solution, because I actually believe that God has a solution to every situation you face. And I found when I was throwing myself into the arms of God and saying, God, I'll do anything you want, I was throwing myself into the arms of my Heavenly Father, who just loved me and had the very best for me. And it was only when I did it, because I started to live my life like that, that I found this close relationship with God, which gave me the power to literally face anything. Because to me now, it doesn't matter if I die. If I die tomorrow, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go to heaven. And if I face death of loved ones around me, it doesn't matter, because I've still got God. I've got God now, I've got God tomorrow, I've got God for eternity. So to me, the secret is developing that sort of relationship. And when you develop that sort of relationship, you can literally face anything. But the most important thing is that let the problem that you face be an opportunity to move on to something higher and better, and don't sink into a pit of despair.
Thank you. As a leader of the Christian People's Alliance, how do you see the party bringing change to us?
Okay, well, thank you. I've not talked about the CPA so far. I've only talked about myself. But the ultimate aim of the party, obviously, is to run the country, as is the aim of any political party. But on the way, I think there's various things that we can do. One is be a voice to the nation. The aim of the Christian People's Alliance is to be a voice for the family. We have, as our party, a policy of giving a grant of £12,000 to couples when they get married, provided they go for counselling to consider what's involved, and another £6,000 whenever the first child, provided they go for counselling as to what is involved in bringing up children, to strengthen the family and the nation, to make it foolish not to get married and take advantage of the grants that are available. So we want to be a voice for the unborn. Again, we got policies to preserve life from conception till natural death, a voice for persecuted Christians, a voice for the poor. We were the only party in the last general election, believe it or not, that would replace the 12,000 cuts to benefits, and we would do it out of a turnover tax, which I won't explain now, but it's there in our manifesto. A voice for the outcast, a voice for those caught up in crime. It's quite interesting, you know. At the moment, the average person who goes to prison, there's 38% commit crime again when they come out of prison. 38%. And sometimes it can be as high as 60%. And yet, where Christian charities have got involved, like Message Trust in Manchester and Saltbox in Stoke, they've got people committing crime down to 10% when they come out of prison, reoffending. Now, there's no reason why we can't do that right across the country if we give proper support and help to people when they come out of prison. And this is a win-win-win policy, because it means less victims of crime, fewer people in court, fewer people in prison. And it gives people in prison something to look forward to when they come out, rather than just throwing them out into the streets, which can happen too often. So we want to be a voice for the nation. We also want to give Christians a voice, someone to vote for with the very best policies for the nation they can be proud of voting for. And we also have a prayer group where Christians can join us and pray over political issues. And from that position, we can speak in conferences and radio and TV. And we can also, as we rise in importance, the big parties are likely to respond to what we say and what we stand for, and take on our policies. It's already happened, funnily enough. Government have already looked at our manifesto and taken on some of the policies because they realise that they're sense, like the policy that I've just described to you. I wouldn't be at all surprised if government doesn't come along and say, yeah, that's sensible, let's do it. And they haven't put it forward, we've put it forward. But it doesn't matter. Will always be another policy that we can put forward. And if we know that we can put the best policies forward for the nation because of the Christian values that they're based on. And our values, as we stand, we bring them into the debate. Where we are right now, we need more candidates standing across the nation. If you are watching and you want to join us, send an email to info@cpaparty.net or look us up on our website, www.cpaparty.net. Pray first and ask, God, you want me to join this party, which is what I did in 2004. And if God says to you, yes, join. You have to ask God, because if you ask God and God calls you, you don't give up when the going gets tough. But the fundamental of what we believe in is, as Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And if you can hear God's voice, then you can ask God what his will is in any and every situation, including any political situation. And I could give you some examples, but you probably want me to move on. But thank you for asking the question.
Mr. Sid Cordle, MBE, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance. Now we're going to ask the viewers, wherever they are, to ask some questions today. If they've got any questions for Sid Cordle, MBE, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance, on embracing change, on change itself, we welcome your questions. Whilst we're waiting for our viewers to just type one or two questions for you, Mr. Cordle, MBE, what's the one thing that you would like to say in one sentence that comes to mind right now?
Okay, well, I suppose the one thing I would say is, to me, it's the values of life that are so important, that are more important than anything else. I learned painfully the importance of embracing truth. You've got to tell the truth. And I haven't been always successful there, but it's something I've learned, and it's something which I've done later on in life. Because if you tell lies, you just go down a importance of embracing financial honesty. Don't steal in any way, shape, or form. Don't even think about going on the train without paying. Just don't do anything that's dishonest, because it actually affects your whole life and your whole character. Your character has to be based on honesty and truthfulness, and if you face problems, don't be dishonest and try and lie your way out of them. Be honest, be truthful, and in the end, you'll enjoy the solution that you find.
Mr. Cordle, MBE, Juliet Macapilla, she is a community advocate. She loves politics. She loves the community, and she asked the question: how do you get people to go back to God in the UK? Can you please just summarize that in just 1 minute, please, for us? How do you get people to go back to God in the UK?
How do you get people to what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
How do you get people to go back to God in UK?
Oh, how do you get people to go back to God? Well, it's everything in the Christian life that you do by speaking. You see, how do you become a Christian? You speak it out. You say, God, I'm sorry that I've sinned. I thank you that you've died on the cross for me, and I receive you as my Lord and Savior. And it says, if you confess your sins, God is faithful and just and will forgive you of your sins and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. So you become a Christian by confessing your sin and accepting that Jesus has died for you and you are now forgiven. And it's the same with everything. If you come to, I believe there's a lot of Christians that have God in their life, but not really Lord of their life, which is basically how I was living. Christ was in my life. I was in the church. I was part of the church, but not really Lord of my life. When it came to important decisions, I took the decision. But then I started leading my life. God, I'm not going to take any decision. You're going to take more. And I'm going to ask you what I'm to do. And I'm going to obey whatever you say. And as I say, when I started to live my life like that, I found myself throwing myself into the arms of my loving Heavenly Father. But I did it by speaking out. I spoke it out. I said, God, if you're going to go with me, I'm not going to go up from here. That's what Moses said. That's what I said. And that's how I wanted to live my life. So how you do it is by speaking it out.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Sugar Ray has a comment. Sugar Ray says, power words, inspiring words, and aspirations. Give thanks. Thank you, Sugar Ray, for your comment. We appreciate it. If you have any other questions, we're talking about embracing change this evening. So if you have any questions on embracing change, please, we have taken 2 more questions on embracing change. And this evening we have Mr. Sid Cordle, MBE, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance. Sugar Ray also asks the question, how did you cope with fear?
That's an interesting question. The Bible says perfect love casts out fear. But I think the way to cope with fear is basically to to seek, well, I suppose I say seek God, to ask God and to seek what he's saying, but to come close to him. You know, Jesus said to his disciples, behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. You think sheep in the midst of wolves, that's not a comfortable place to be. In fact, that's a very scary place to be. So where's a safe place to be if you're a sheep in the midst of wolves? There's only one place. That's close to the shepherd. So you've got to get, if you're in a place of fear, you've got to get close to the shepherd. And close to the shepherd is a place of security. And it's a place of saying, God, what do you want me to do right now? I mean, I'll give you an example of that, if you like. And there was an example once when I was involved in campaigning for the Christian People's Alliance in Newham, where we had some Christian People's Alliance councillors. And a big issue arose in Newham of the building of a massive mosque behind West Ham Station, and really enormous mosque. It was going to be the largest in Europe. Originally, they're talking about more than 10,000 people for this massive mosque. And it was not something which the local residents wanted. It was something that was really being imposed, and it wasn't part of the local plan. It didn't fit in with what the council was wanting. And in the end, the council turned it down. But I was putting some leaflets out opposing the mega mosque. And as I was putting these leaflets out, it was actually around Stratford area. Some people came up and challenged me and started threatening me. Now, I was on my own. So here was, if you like, a place of danger. And I'd already actually had some Muslims drive past in the car and started shouting at me, but now they were coming to me on foot. And so I literally prayed, God, what do I do? What do I do, God? In that instant. And God said, drop the leaflets and go. So I literally just, these people were physically threatening me. So I literally just dropped the leaflets and walked away.
God shows up in any time, right, Mr. Cordle? God always shows up at the end.
It's interesting.
Mr. Cordle, we have two more questions that we have, and we're going to breeze past those questions.
Sorry?
Can you hear me? We have two more questions for you. We have a question coming up on the screen from Joella, and Joella says, have you faced any persecution during your role in politics? Mr. Sid Cordle, what would you say to her in brief, in very much brief? We would like to continue on our subject, embracing change. And so a general advice that you would give on how you faced persecution during your role in politics and how you managed to embrace that to make a change.
It doesn't bother me. Any threats, no threats bother me. I mean, really. But if you're talking about persecution, the only thing I could say really is I used to go down to Speaker's Corner. I went down every Sunday for 10 years from 2005 to 2015. And when I was there, then we used to challenge the Muslims academically. I mean, I became very knowledgeable and we did a lot of research and we gained a lot of respect from people down there. But a lot of the things we were saying were very difficult for people to take. For instance, we don't believe Muhammad was in Mecca at all, and so on and so forth. Now, with evidence. Now, when people do that, they can start getting very angry. And one guy punched me in the face, and people pushed me off the ladder. Now, when that happens, my reaction was always, well, what I said to the guy that punched me in the face was literally, if you have to do that, you've lost the argument. I didn't threaten him physically. I just basically shouted at him. And funnily enough, as I did that, other Muslims were actually protecting me from this guy who hit me. Whereas if I'd actually physically attacked him, they'd have attacked me. So it'd have actually put me in greater danger. But it's sometimes almost in a split second, you've got to take that decision. And it's, for me, you take a decision in advance that you're never under any circumstances going to use violence. So if people are going to threaten you and attack you, you're never going to respond with violence. You're only ever going to respond verbally. And I believe that's the right, and that's the Christian approach to things. But that's the only really answer to persecution. But nothing frightens me and nothing scares me, as I say, because at the end of the day, if I die, I'm going to go to heaven, so I don't care. So I'm just here for living for God, and whatever it costs is by the board.
Mr. Sid Cordle, MBE, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance. We thank you so much for your time this evening. We have one more question to give to you, and is from Adioba TJ, and it says, question for Mr. Cordle. Do you think the occurrence of disappointment in one's life is necessary entity in moving forward in one's life? Mr. Cordle, just because of our time today, we're going to ask you to please summarize that question for us, please. The question is, do you think the occurrence of disappointment in one's life is necessary entity in moving forward in one's life? And that question is from Adioba Benga Adetunji TJ.
Well, everyone is going to face disappointment in your life. And I think if you just have a very easy life, then it's easy to become judgmental. I mean, for instance, people that have had easy marriages will probably easily judge people that have, like me, that have been through divorce, because it's like, well, why did you go to divorce? You shouldn't have done it. You should have done this. You should have done that. And it's easy for me, for instance, who I've never all my life had any problem with gaining weight. I've always done a lot of running. I've always been very active. So it's easy for me to judge somebody that's overweight and say you should eat less. But as you face problems and as you face difficulties, you become less judgmental. You become more accepting and understanding of people. You have more empathy. So I believe your character is formed through pain and through difficulty and through disappointment. And if you never have disappointments, I think you've actually missed out on gaining so much that comes with these character building through pain and through struggle.
Thank you, Mr. Cordle MBE. Sometimes we often wonder how others progress their thought process. And today we are honored to have you share your journey on the Extraordinary Achievers Show. We know that you could have empowered us for hours to come, but we encourage our viewers, we encourage the audience to follow you on your page, to follow you, and to be able to post any more questions either on this show and comment below. We will pass you all the questions and the queries all to you, and you'll be able to respond to them. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you joining us today, and thank you for sharing some words of wisdom with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on tonight's show, we have the award-winning radio broadcaster and podcaster Sandra Rodney, aka Ebony Empress, who is a public speaker, a presenter, and a coach. Sandra is well known as a conflict resolution specialist and an organizational change consultant. I have known you, Sandra, as a friend and a fellow comrade, so I am privileged to introduce you and to welcome you on the Extraordinary Achievers Show this evening. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, everyone who's out there in Facebook world or wherever you're listening in tonight. Hi. Thank you, Waynette. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you so much for the welcome. It's great to be here. I feel like I'm with my girlie. Why am I here?
I know. You know, we have been on so many forums together, socially, professionally. You're like the other mother to my children, and the other sister from another mother. Today I bring you on the show because you're a bank of knowledge, and it is amazing to have you on the show, and so much looking forward to how you're going to inspire everyone else. So we start off with the first question.
I
To
think
your
I was listening to
understanding,
Sid.
what has changed?
Well, I was listening to Sid and I was thinking, well, I'm being inspired by his story, especially at the beginning when he was talking about his faith. I can share that I'm into faith as well. But I before we kind of start getting into the conversation, I just want to acknowledge a major change for the Black community, which is the loss of Paul Lawrence. Paul Lawrence this week has been a loss to our community. He's a giant in the community. People who don't know him, he was one of the leaders of 100 Black Men. He was also the CEO of Just Tickets. And I think he just made such a great contribution to our community. So I just want to acknowledge him first, because I think that's a change that I was shocked to hear. I literally was like, wow, Paul Lawrence, what happened there? And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same and are still grieving for his loss. So I just want to, take a little time to just really say, we sometimes forget the work that people do on our behalf in our community. Let's never forget someone who really contributed a lot to us.
I guess it gives us an opportunity to once again be grateful for the gift of life and to know that we are here for a purpose, and that purpose we should find to serve it well. And
Yeah,
indeed,
absolutely.
we remember Paul Lawrence in good memories. We're strengthened by the good memories that we shared with him and all the wisdom and the knowledge that he also shared and impacted in our community. So thank you for acknowledging him.
Absolutely. So we're talking about change tonight.
That's
And I love the topic because, of course, change affects everybody at some point in their life. It isn't something that is foreign to any of us. I think this year, 2020, has been a really interesting year when we're talking about change. There has been changes everywhere. For me, on a personal level, um, the beginning of this year seemed like a normal year, no different to many. I actually had a great job. I thought I had a great job. Okay. And March came and the beginning of COVID season and the lockdown and all the rest of it. And I lost my job. So that was my first taste of change. Yeah, hi out there, Joella. Um, so yes, that was my first experience of change. A lot of people were sent on furlough, and I was one of the unfortunate ones that had no furlough, was never offered any kind of package of support during COVID, but was just asked to go home really and wait. And at some point, the company would call and let us know if we were going to actually continue, we would be asked back, or what would happen. Well, we were never asked back. And I knew it when we were asked to go home. I actually was convinced at that point it's all over. In fact, I think I knew it was over probably a couple of months before, when we had a strategy day and I was hearing about new ideas, and I thought, that doesn't sound like my job. That sounds like something else. Hi guys, everybody who's saying hi. So yes, when it came to the point where we were finally told we're going to be made redundant, I was shocked, but not shocked, because I knew it was coming. But I was relieved, and people could not understand why I was relieved. But let me tell you why. Well, my dad was ill, and those of you on Facebook will know that he'd been ill for about 4 years, and he had a stroke in 2016. And I was one of a family of carers who were looking after him continuously. And I was relieved when they told me I was out of work, because I thought, right, now I've got more time to help out at home. I'll be less stressed, because I was also studying at the time. And I thought, right, I've got enough on my plate. Actually, this is good. This is heaven sent. I'll get a time to have a little bit of a rest and to work out what I want to do next. And I think that when change comes in that way, sometimes we're just not sure. We're not sure what to do. I wasn't sure what my next steps would be. I knew I had in front of me the focus of looking after my dad. So that really allowed me to be shielded from really worrying about what would happen in terms of a job, because at that time I didn't need a job really, in the sense that I didn't need the extra work, and that job was quite intensive. So walking away from it and having to think about something new, and then being faced with COVID and the whole lockdown situation, just became a whole spiral of different things happening, one after the other. I don't know if you want me to stop or should I continue, but I could just talk for hours. You know what I'm like, right? Just telling you straight away, stop me if you need to stop me, because I will just keep talking.
I have 3 questions for you to
Okay,
ask you.
go on.
Okay, and the first question, in giving some advice to our viewers out there, to the audience, and in thinking around it all, first of all, I'll ask you this question. Why is it that we resist change?
Well, it's fear, isn't it? You know, it's scary to change something. I'll give you an example, and a lot of the oldies on here will understand, right? So years ago, I had a Nokia phone. I had this Nokia phone. I thought it was the best phone that you could have. And my kids were like, "What are you doing with this phone, Mom? Like, seriously, you need to get rid of this phone. Get rid of the phone. It's embarrassing, it's old." I was like, no, but it works. I can use it. I know how it works. Why do I want a new phone? Mum, get a new phone. Everybody has something different. Get an iPhone, and, get modern, get into the 20th century. Come on. And I was resistant. I was resisting because I just felt, why do I need that? Why do I need to be dragged into something new when I understand what I already have? And some of it was a fear of learning something new, having to kind of play with new technology.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are still on that journey of like, we're not quite, we're Generation X, we're not quite with the younger ones when it comes to technology. But at that time, I was afraid of like just having a new gadget, working that out, understanding how I could make calls, how I could message. It was just a new thing. I just didn't want to go there. So I understand people who are afraid of something new. And I think sometimes we just got to get past that, but it's not easy. And we need to be empathetic with those who struggle with change, because it's not easy to make a change for any of us. Sometimes we know something is changing. I remember I was working in South London for a big council, and my manager at the time told me, we're going to have a restructure. In a year, there's a restructure coming. And he said, you might want to look for a new job. And I know at the time I was like, what? Like, no. New job, like, yeah, I know I've got the skills to get a new job. And he was like, yeah, you've got the skills now. You're a manager. You know what you're doing. Come on, you can get a new job. Do not wait for it to happen, right? Go out and get the new job. But I kind of procrastinated and I resisted for a bit. And every time we had a one-to-one, he'd tell me again, because, I really like you, Sandra, but I know let me tell you what's coming, right? Because I sit in the meetings, I know what's coming. And it's the same with those of us, in faith. Very often we know what's coming. Maybe God told us, maybe a situation, presented itself, which told us, alarm bells started ringing. And yet we're still sitting there going like, no, not me. I am not going there. I'm not going to do what I know might change my life for a better. It's not easy.
Yeah. But why is change so important?
Well, it's important because, it gives you an opportunity to open new doors, to have new experiences, to start to evolve, because we're all about evolving. In fact, we're changing every moment. Whether we like it or not, the change is happening. You know, you look in the mirror, come on, 10 years ago, even though I'm still saying I haven't aged much, of course I have. Of course we're aging. Of course we're changing. We are changing in the moment, every second, change is happening. The question is, can we embrace that? Can we be at peace with it? Can we say, well, look, this is just a part of life, nature, it's what happens. Things will change around us. Could we just go with it? And I think sometimes if we weren't struggling so hard, you know, the changes that happen to us and around us, we would be better equipped to deal with them. I was talking about the passing of my dad. Whilst my dad was ill, you can't prepare for someone who's going to die potentially. You always want to be optimistic. You're always praying that the person will not pass away. But I knew at some point he would go, and in a way, I was trying to prepare myself because I knew that was going to be a major change. He's a patriarch, not matriarch, but a patriarch of our family, that this massive figure he was in our family. And I knew that the time would come when we'd have to work out how we were going to deal with that change. What were we going to do about it? We couldn't stop it because it was going to come. And it, you know, we talk about it and we'd walk away from it as a family, but we never ever really wanted to accept, because you don't want to accept that you're going to lose someone really important in your life. Of course you don't. Of course you don't. Change takes you out of your comfort zone. Yes, absolutely. It takes you to a place where you feel uncomfortable. You feel like you're not yourself. You know, it challenges you in a way that you do not want to be challenged. It brings up fears and anxieties about how you will survive this change, whatever it might be. And that can have you sitting in a place where you will not move because you don't want to experience what comes with change. And that's the difficulty, I think, for a lot of us. We know stuff is going to happen. We know with COVID, we're being told every day things that, you know, I don't want to go into the COVID story, but we know there's a vaccine coming. And people, I walk down the street and I hear people talking on the phone to each other about the fear of what is coming. But what is the plan? What's your plan? What is your plan? Can you plan for it? Because you know it's coming. What's the plan? Rather than be just living that circle of fear, could you be more empowering for yourself by thinking, well, okay, I know this is coming. How can I prepare myself so that when it comes, it may not be as harsh or it may not be as difficult? What do I need to think about? Is it about where I'm living? I know in our faith, we're very much about people need to now think more about country living, planting their own food, growing their own food, you know, that kind of stuff. They need to be more self-sufficient. You need to just not rely on this job, okay, the 9 to 5, because you might not be able to have that. We've seen with COVID that it can be snatched away so easily. So what if you could, you know, generate an income from somewhere else? You know, you could have some residual income from setting up something that could sustain you in a better way. It's things that we don't want to think about or plan for, but when you're in a situation where change is coming and you're being told, you need to start thinking differently, and not just thinking but acting.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And what would be your advice to someone out there that is finding it very hard to let go and embrace that change? You know, they're stuck in that situation, or they're too scared, or it's the fear of the unknown. What would you say to them?
Okay.
Go.
Well, I know when stuff was changing for me, one of the things that I tried to do was first be still. You know, there is a text in the Bible, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that God is still there for you. And if you don't believe in God, but you have a higher being, you know, whoever you are praying to or you are using as that powerful support for your life, go to that support and acknowledge the support, but be still and wait for an answer as to what you do next. So I know that when I was made unemployed, my first thought was, I need to pray now more than ever, because I don't know what is coming. But I know that my higher being, my God, will know, because he knows what's coming next. He knows what the plans are for me. That's what it says in the Bible. I know the plans for your life. I have the plans for your life. Okay. So if he has the bigger plan, he'll know how I'm going to get through this situation. So being still is very important. The first thing, don't go excited, crazy, panicking, running around, trying to spend your money on this and that. Keep your money, maybe, because it may be not the time to spend it, the little that you get, because sometimes you're given a redundancy, right? So hold on to that money and wait and think very hard. What do I want to do next? What are the most important priorities in my life right now? If I have to pay bills, can I pay those first? Just kind of get some advice as well. I think sometimes we're afraid to go and ask for help. We need help. So change is coming. You need help. You need assistance. I've never gone through any change in my life without help and support. Yeah. People who, are also understanding that, this is a difficult time for you. This is something that is affecting you greatly. It can be giving you sleepless nights. Even people in faith will struggle with change, right? So, pray more maybe, but also seek advice and take action. And, if you've got to make a plan for how you'll survive for the next 6 months, get that plan down on paper. A lot of us don't like to write things down, but write it down exactly how you're going to survive this period of uncertainty. And then, put things into place and give yourself time. I say one of the things that I found really useful in this time is to not just be still. At first I was still, but then my second course of action was really to get advice. Then I got advice. I went and saw someone, financial advisor, spoke to someone about, the situation I was going through, looked at all my other options as well. So I know that I was doing one job, but like most Black women, I have 100 skills, right? There's so many things that we are accomplished at doing, but we probably are doing the one job. But we know we have skills in training. I had skills in training that I probably wasn't using at the time. And also I have a background in the housing sector. So I drew on everything I had, and I went out to everybody that I knew in all the different sectors where I'd worked in the past, conflict resolution, everything, and said, what have you got? So use your resources out there, people that you know that you've worked with who love the work that you do, and go to them and say, well, have you got an opportunity for me? Can you help me? And you'll be surprised. You sometimes get a yes. And that's your next position. And that has happened to me during this period of time. Got to tell you, I was unemployed from March until October this year. And I know those people who are crying about not having jobs. I know how that feels. I know how it feels. But what I did was, first I was still, then I got advice. Then I went to my friends, and a few of my friends came up with job offers, which is really good. They came up with stuff. Sandra, I've introduced you to a company. I'm working there, but you might be able to get an opportunity there. I forget one of my friends, Elizabeth, she just came up with this job overnight, and she was like, call this person tomorrow. I've told them about you. And that's why it's good to, leave a trail behind you that's a good one, because you're going to need that trail. You're going to need those people to advocate for you when you're in this situation of change and you're not sure what the future will hold. You're not sure where your next job or your next bit of bread's going to come from. So that's my advice. Go out to your tribe and get them to help you, because often your tribe has the answer, and someone out there will want to work with you. That's why you need to stay friends with lots of people like Wayne. Okay. Because you never know.
I just wanted to say that I really love your attitude towards life. We speak nearly every week or every other week, and when we do, it's for like an hour, 2 hours at a time. And for
Don't
months,
tell
I
our
was
secret.
And for months, I was unaware that you were unemployed. Because every time when we had a conversation, you were doing something. And we would share about what you were doing and what I was doing. And so we walked away from the conversation without ever mentioning the fact that you were unemployed because you were so busy. And I think it's really good in life at times for one not to focus on the thing that is going wrong, but to change your mental attitude and your whole being and directing your energy and attention to something else. And that's something that I love about you. I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sandra Rodney, aka Ebony Empress, and if you look her up, she has got podcasts that are amazing. She's an amazing woman. We were only taking a snippet out of Sandra Rodney
Well, I
today.
want to just say something, Way.
Yeah.
Something I did during COVID, and I want to share this because there's a lot of people who will now be unemployed and be thinking, what can you do? I taught myself Spanish. I learned Spanish over this period of time.
Fantastic.
I did a TEFL course to teach foreign students overseas. You know, there are untold things that you can do when you have been shut down. The last shutdown, I became a volunteer for an organization called Youth at Risk. That changed my life. There are so many things. I ran a marathon like Sid. You know, you can do things to empower your life. Do not think because I do not have a 9 to 5, my life is over. There is so much to do. Get busy and don't get depressed. Because if you're not busy, you will start thinking, well, how am I going to pay my bills, whatever. And sometimes out of the things that you create comes a new opportunity. So I just want to leave you with that and just,
Thank you.
say, please, please don't get down about this situation. Get busy and get with God. Get with God.
Right. That's right.
Get with God. Build your relationship with God. Do not leave him out of the picture. You need to be praying. I joined a prayer group in the morning. I'll be praying every morning. Let me tell you, because if you're not praying and you're not building that relationship with God, you cannot do this on your own. A lot of people believe that they can do stuff just by, I'm going to do this and I'll do that. God is your fuel. He's the engine oil that you need. You need the Holy Spirit in your life. I'm not even going to joke. That has made a difference for me. It really has empowered me and supported me on this journey. And even with the loss of my dad, definitely, my faith has kept me strong. And for those of you who are losing people in COVID, it is the hardest thing. But, when you have a faith or, if you're strong in your belief in the universe or whatever it is, if you have that anchor, it makes all the difference in how things will affect you and how you survive what you feel is something that is unsurvivable. I don't know if there's a word called unsurvivable. But anything that you think you can't survive, trust me, you can
You can
survive it.
survive it. You can survive it. Sandra Rodney, aka Ebony Empress. Thank you so much, my darling friend, and I look forward to talking to you later about the program. Thank you, and I'm going to
Thank
say bye for
you.
now.
Good
Thank
night.
you. I'm going to read some of the comments that we received earlier. I'm just going to grab a couple of them. Let's just have them as our coordinator, Mr. Darren Robinson from We Fix It, puts it up on the screen. Kelsey says, most change that we're afraid of ends up the best change. Thank you for that contribution. Juliet Macapilla, the amazing Juliet, said, embracing change, the power of mindset, a great topic. And we have Vincent Benga says, open-minded help you to be in a better position when it happens. Michael McCardle says, very good. He's enjoying the show. Hey, Michael, and thanks for watching. Thank you. The amazing voice. Vincent once again says, every change associates with fear, and in most cases, our fear will never happen. We're just going to read just one more. One more, we're going to say, Vicky Garvey. Hey, sweetie pie. Vicky says, I love your positive outlook on change. Well done. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on now to a Chinese proverb. You know me and my quotations and my proverbs that I love so much. This one here is a Chinese proverb that says, a wise man adapts himself to circumstances as water shapes itself to the vessel that it contains. Let me say that just one more time. A wise man adapts himself to the circumstances as water shapes itself to the vessel that it contains. Personally and generally in life, and on looking back, I realized that all good things in my life are the results of changes that occurred in the past. I've embraced them and made them my own, and I've created my new norm. So every time when someone says to me, we are living in these unnormal times, I say, well, we just got to embrace our new normal, because what was normal before or after? Anyway, the next quotation is by Ben Franklin. And Ben Franklin says, when you're finished changing, you are finished. When you're finished changing, you are totally finished, because growth is for every day. I love that. Ben Franklin may not have been an entrepreneur by trade, but his words echo today more than ever before. 20 years ago, you probably didn't have an email address, and now it's hard to imagine your life or your business or your work without an email. Just over 16 years ago, Facebook didn't exist, and now it's reported that 1.69 billion people and millions of businesses use it to communicate. And there we are, communicating through Facebook. My next quotation is by Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who survive, but those who can best manage change. It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who survive, but those who can best manage change. I'd like to finish off today's show with two Bible scriptures. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Another scripture I really like, which I personally refer to it as in change, says in Hebrews 6:19, we have this hope as an anchor for our soul, firm and secure. It enters into the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm, secure. It enters into the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. Whatever your belief is, whatever you stand by, the higher power is there, your higher source. Turn to it when change comes. Embrace it, make it your own. Today, may you find the courage to embrace change. And if you're finding it hard and you're at home and you're thinking, how am I going to embrace this change? So many things are going on in my life right now. Please reach out to someone. I'm here and I can connect you to other mentors, coaches, consultants that are out there that I am certain will be able to help one way or another. So please, let's reach out to each other and let's help each other as much as we can. Today, we've had on the Extraordinary Achievers show, we had Sid Cordle, MBE, the political party leader of the Christian People's Alliance. We also had Ebony, Empress, Sandra, Rodney, a coach, an amazing woman that's doing amazing things out there. Next week, we're going to have some more amazing people that are going to join us. We're just going to share two more comments on the screen. Let's see. Comment number 1. Great interview with Dr. Sandra Rodney, Real Sims. Thank you. We like that. And we have from, let's have a look, Amori Composer. Let's see what he's got to say. Wonderful afterthought is. And then we have Nkuri. Nkuri says, Let's have that up. Great show. Blessings and have a very good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. We're just going to watch the advert again for one more time. We have the advert reminding us about insurances and reminding us why we need to get an insurance. Please just take 2 seconds to have a look. On the screen comes up, and that is Mr. Maduka's contact details. If you require a policy, anything that you require for insurance cover, he is the man to give it to you. Also, if you're looking for a loan, a business loan, or a personal loan, he is the man to speak to. He specializes in income protection, life insurance, critical illness cover, funeral plans, mortgage cover, land insurance, private insurance, private healthcare, pensions, business and public liability insurance, building and content insurance. And he also covers sports cover. We would like to thank our coordinator, King Darren Robinson from We Fix It Media. Our gratitude is extended to everyone that has shared, liked, and commented on today's program, and many programs before and many programs to come. We want to thank you in advance. We acknowledge the assistance of Prince Jordan and Princess Kelsey. Today we were live on Lady Wayne Peters' Facebook page, personal page, the Extraordinary Achievers, the HOD Radio World Network, and the Periscope Twitter. This program will also be found on our YouTube channel. Thank you for your time today, and thank you, and please do share, comment, and like. And we do promise any comments that you will share and any questions that you have for Mr. Sid Cordle, MBE, we will pass them on to you, and surely him and his team will be able to come back to you. We welcome you next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m., the 23rd of December, where we'll be looking at celebrating the lessons and appreciating the journey. We look forward to seeing you next week. Remain blessed.
Thank you for watching. You can now follow us on Facebook and subscribe our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and comment.